There aren't that many companies in the world that are trying to treat a problem that kills something like 10 to 25% of everybody. And we are working on a problem with what we hope is a final solution to control it in order to prevent 10 to 25% of all human deaths.
Bionics is the first biopharma R&D open exchange platform for licensing and co-development partnerships of drug candidates. We are working closely with biopharmaceutical companies that are actively seeking preclinical and clinical stage drug candidates for in-licensing and co-development partnerships to expand their R&D pipelines. If you are a development stage biotech company and are looking for licensing and co-development partners for your drug candidates, then list them for free on Bionics and get contacted directly by these biopharmaceutical companies. We are already working with many partners. Would you like to learn more about Bionics? Feel free to get in touch with us. We look forward to working with you.
Hello everyone, we are back today again with Bionics interview. Our guest today is a co-founder and CEO of Prepare Biotechnologies, Reason. Hello Reason, it's great to have you today.
It's a pleasure to be on. So let's talk about Repair Biotechnologies.
Thank you. Let me introduce very short Repair Biotechnologies, and then I'll give you the word. Repair Biotechnologies is a preclinical stage biotech company developing first-in-class therapeutic candidates to treat the medical conditions that are caused due to localized accumulations of cholesterol excesses. So tell me about Repair Biotechnologies, please, and what makes this development stage biotech so unique?
So we've been around for a few years, as you are in the preclinical stage. We come out of the longevity industry. In fact, we're one of the early companies in that industry targeting age-related conditions by focusing on causes rather than trying to treat symptoms. It is our belief and the belief of many people in this industry that the expectation value of any company working in this space is much higher than that of a normal biotech, simply because we have a much wider range of potential applications. When you're going further down the tree of problems, as it were, you're getting closer to root causes. Therefore, you have many different end stages that your root cause affects. We're also somewhat unusual in that we have a first-in-class approach, and I think it's very sad that I can say that, because we should have a lot more first-in-class approaches in the industry, and that we don't is it's a problem that needs to be solved. So I can't solve that problem, but I can at least run my own first-in-class development program. So as you mentioned, we focus on cholesterol. Cholesterol is a very interesting component of our bodies in that it's used everywhere, but it's never destroyed. The body doesn't break down cholesterol to any great degree at all, and this is probably because it's so expensive to build. And the energy required to make cholesterol is not insignificant. So the body does everything it can to conserve it, and it moves it around the body via a number of weird mechanisms that tend to fail as you get older. So and genetic conditions also cause similar failures of moving cholesterol around. So you get these localized excesses of cholesterol that lead to many conditions. And if it was just a boring set of orphan conditions in which 1,000 people in the world are not having a good time, then we'd be great people for working on that. But it's not the case. There are conditions like atherosclerosis or NASH, in which a great many people suffer from localized excesses of cholesterol that ultimately kill them. Right. In the case of atherosclerosis, there aren't that many companies in the world that are trying to treat a problem that kills something like 10 to 25% of everybody. And we are working on a problem with what we hope is a final solution to control it in order to prevent 10 to 25% of all human deaths, should we succeed in getting this to the clinic. I think that makes us fairly unique. Other possibilities on that topic, we don't do small molecule. We're a gene therapy company. It's a way of introducing specific protein machinery into cells that does the job we want it to do. Small molecules can't even in principle do what we're doing here, which is breaking down cholesterol selectively where it's present in excessive amounts. So we really don't have much in the way of, even nascent competition. We own this space. So it's always good to bet on the person who has a monopoly, I guess, if you want to believe Peter Thiel. So, hey, ask me the next question.
Thank you, Rizan, for a pretty good overview about the company. You mentioned a little bit about the technology, what you guys doing. Can you tell a little bit more in detail about that proprietary technology that you are using? And what is your drug development pipeline currently? What kind of drug candidates you have, and in which particular indications?
So as I mentioned, it's really a gene therapy approach, by which I mean we have a specific set of protein machinery that we want to be active inside a cell. And how we deliver that is really dependent on the best option for the indication in question. So, I'm sure most of the listeners are familiar with the panoply of gene therapy approaches. There are viral vectors, there's mRNA, anything that gets your protein going in the place you want it to be working on. So the primary reason for doing this is atherosclerosis. The primary reason for doing what we're doing is that we're zealots who want to solve aging, one problem at a time, and atherosclerosis is one of the biggest problems.
True.
But if you look at the list of things where cholesterol is a problem, you can look at NASH, fatty liver disease. You could argue that diabetes perhaps is a condition which only exists because somehow you've managed to cram an extra few grams of cholesterol into your pancreas. Of course, the only way to do that is to become enormously fat. There's also metabolic cancers and a whole range of orphan conditions in which somebody's genes are broken in a weird way that leads to too much cholesterol in one part of the body. There's a pulmonary alveolar proteinosis condition in which the macrophages in your lungs have forgotten how to process cholesterol properly. So you end up having to have your lungs washed out with detergent in order to live. It's not a pleasant condition at all. But there's many orphans like that, which we could in principle go after,
right,
with a platform that breaks down excess cholesterol locally. But first things first, I mean, the thing that kills 25% of everybody before the orphan conditions, usually, though there is a lot to be said for trying to prioritize orphan conditions in the FDA pipeline simply for financial engineering reasons. It gets you faster to the gate where you can have more money to do the thing that you really want to do later. Fortunately, in the case of atherosclerosis, there is an orphan condition which is accelerated atherosclerosis. The unfortunate sufferers of homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia have something like 10 times the blood cholesterol of a normal person, and they die in their 30s from atherosclerosis. And if we can solve that, that shows that we can also solve atherosclerosis, because it doesn't really bother us how you got all that cholesterol in your blood vessels. We just want to break it down and get rid of it.
Thank you, Rizan. It sounds very interesting. I mean, you guys develop such a technology which can be applied in many type of indications when there is cholesterol excesses, from broad indications up to the very, very like a narrow orphan indications. And that brings me to another question. As you are preclinical stage, first in class developing, do you looking now for licensing and co-development partners, because there will be lots of companies that will be interested in your technology with such a broad application? And maybe like, can you tell a little bit us who would be your ideal partner in this case?
So we are interested in co-development for some of our indications, and this is really This is really a decision that's driven by wanting patient benefits to occur sooner rather than later. We could be, in 5 years, we could be a $10 billion public company, and we'd still be doing that on the basis of having tackled maybe 2 or 3 indications. It's very slow. It's really very slow. So if we have a list of 10 things that we're looking at, it makes a lot of sense to license out some of those rather than try to develop them when you know that as a public company, you're never going to be prioritizing that orphan disease number 5. It's just never going to get done. So it makes a lot of sense to try to find co-developers for these conditions now, in the likelihood that we as a company will never get to it just because of the way the incentives operate in this business. So, you know, we could be 10 billion and public on the basis of just treating atherosclerosis, for example. Maybe we never get to NASH, who knows? So the co-developers we're looking for are people who can help us, particularly in the tougher types of vector and therapy. For example, we are developing a cell therapy approach, and obviously that's a lot of heavy lifting once you get to the later stages. And we're certainly talking to potential partners, but it never hurts to talk to more potential partners who have the experience in taking cell therapies through the clinic and the technologies that allow us to generate cells that we want from iPSCs, and to work with them in a co-development thing.
Thank you, Rizan. I want to also tell our listeners that Repair Biotechnologies is a Bionics member, and their current therapeutic candidate is listed on BioNeex. As Rizan, you mentioned, you would love to talk other potential partners too. So can you tell us why you believe that Bionics can help you on that?
So certainly, it's the challenge with finding partners is actually finding the people in a given organization who are interested. Obviously, no organization is a monolith, and identifying the champion is a lot harder than identifying the organization. So if there's a way where you can just put your flag out there and have interested parties come and talk to you, that's considerably more cost effective, and lets us go back to the business of getting the job done rather than chasing leads through the network.
Thank you, Rizan. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your current situation in terms of like what you guys now pushing towards to reach the company as a next milestone?
Well, our current milestone is actually getting our interact meetings done with the FDA to iron out any, obviously you don't know what you don't know about what the FDA members in your particular area think about, let's say, for example, AAV being used to deliver what is essentially an enhancement therapy. We know that it's common practice to deliver viral vectors with very long-term expression where you're fixing a broken gene. But how about when you're adding a new gene? You have to find out what their position is on that. So our current milestone goal is to get our interact meetings done for our major first indications. We submitted one just recently, and we are working on the necessary animal data to submit the next few in line. And this is sort of an ongoing thing. Anybody who's familiar with the metabolic disease, the cardiometabolic disease space will know that the studies take a very long time to run. It's you spend a few months feeding mice high-fat diets in order to get them ready to treat them. Then you wait for a few months to see what the treatment does. It's not a fast process. So that is what we're doing. A lot of animal studies. We have a vivarium packed with hundreds of increasingly fat mice, and we're getting these interact meetings going. And hopefully pre-IND, maybe the end of this year if things go well.
Very good. And what do you think, when will be finally the time to submit IND, approximately?
I would guess that we want to be in clinical trials in our first phase 1/2 trials, let's say 2023, early 2023 would be good. And how the timeline works between now and then, you know, the long pole is usually the GMP manufacturer, and it really depends on which of the options we're advancing and which partner we work with as to how long that takes.
I understand. So as it takes very long time to go through this preclinical phase, I assume you guys also need a lots of money with that. Can you tell us a little bit more about your current funding situation? Because there is lots of potential investors right now, watching this interview. And what would be the next round that you are thinking to raise?
At the moment, we have our operating expenses funded by our existing investors. And I should say that if you're going to found a company, find a wealthy co-founder. It's very helpful. We're presently in discussions with a number of parties to raise a 15 million or so clinical round, which would let us get through to completion on our first clinical trial, let's say for homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia, if that is our ultimate choice. Certainly that would be more than enough to get through to the end goal there of seeing hopefully beneficial effects in our first patients.
So that sounds good that you already have a potential investors and you are thinking to raise, as you said, another 15 million, right?
Yeah, and that would be, plus minus. You can never tell how much is going to be at the end of the day. It really depends on the discussions that follow after you have the lead locked down.
Very nice. So I want to also ask my perhaps the last question. You were mentioning that before the company can be even a publicly traded company, big one, and having particular indications only in their pipeline. Can you tell us a little bit more about overall the vision of Repair Biotechnologies as a CEO?
So we'd love to have Repair Biotechnologies become the vehicle by which I get done what I want to get done. I come from a patient advocacy background in the aging space. And particularly, I'm very interested in the SENS, the strategies for engineered negligible senescence view of aging and what you need to target. And while the community is large, the longevity industry is working on a lot of the items that come out of that laundry list of things to do. Not all of them are being undertaken. And as a result of a very weird situation in the research community over the past 20 to 30 years in the aging space, there is a lot sitting around waiting to be championed and waiting to be brought forward into preclinical development. I have a big list, maybe 30 items. And I would like to get some of those things done. And if you have a successful company, then you can have an aggressive research arm that is just going to roll up the rest of these high expectation value projects and either conduct them under the Repair Biotechnologies umbrella or spin them off into their own startups. And this is, if we all want to live longer than our parents, this is something that has to get going quite soon. And I think either I will do this or somebody else in the space who has a similar view will do this, whichever one of us gets there first. It's not a contest, but there's a lot that should be done from the same point of view as why we are tackling atherosclerosis. A lot of people are dying and that needs to be solved. So to the extent that I can do something about that on the back of succeeding with Repair Biotechnologies, I want to. And of course, it will be a happy side effect that there will be an incredible amount of ROI for any investors involved. That's really not the intent, but to the degree that you succeed, it will happen.
Very cool. So it's even a larger your goal than Repair Biotechnologies. Repair Biotechnologies is only a small part, to solving human greatest problem, the aging. Right. So I think it's very also exciting to join as an investor or any partner because you have so many areas that you can tackle with Repair Biotechnologies in aging process.
That is exactly it. We have big aims. And a lot is out there to be done, and success will make everybody healthier and wealthier, I would imagine.
That's true. So thank you very much, Rizan. That was great talking to you today. Thank you. I want to remind once again our listeners that our guest today was the CEO and co-founder of Repair Biotechnologies, Reason. Once again, Repair Biotechnologies is a clinical stage biotech company developing first-in-class therapeutic candidates to treat the medical conditions that are caused due to localized accumulations of cholesterol excess. Thank you very much and stay tuned. We will come again with another Bionics interview.